5 days ago, Black Friday morning, I woke up at 6 sharp with my throat closing like someone was strangling me from the inside. I stumbled to the kitchen in our San Antonio house, lungs already screaming, and there he was, my 17-year-old brother Logan, standing in the middle of the tile floor holding every single one of my 6 rescue inhalers in his hands. He looked me dead in the eyes, tilted the bottle so I could hear the liquid shaking inside, and said with the coldest smirk, "Getting tight in the chest already, huh, loser? If I don't get to have asthma, then neither do you." I begged him. My voice came out as a wheeze. He just laughed and said, "Starting to turn blue yet? How long before you pass out this time?" I couldn't answer. That was 5 days ago. This morning, he stood in court shaking while the judge read the charges out loud. "Hey, I'm Kayla Carter, 21, severe asthma since I was a kid. Logan is 4 years younger than me." And that morning, he decided my next breath was up to him. If your skin is crawling right now, and you need to know how we got from my own brother trying to watch me suffocate, to him crying in handcuffs, smash the like button and hit subscribe, because this story only gets darker from here. The first time I almost didn't make it, I was 9 years old. It was a normal Tuesday at my elementary school in the suburbs of San Antonio. Recess had just started, the Texas heat was already pushing 95 degrees, and some kid kicked a soccer ball straight into a cloud of dust. One breath of that dry, pollen-filled air and my chest locked up like a fist. I remember dropping to my knees on the blacktop, clawing at my throat while everything went fuzzy. Teachers screamed someone carried me to the nurse, and the next thing I knew, I was in the back of an ambulance with an oxygen mask strapped to my face. That was the day the doctors told my parents I had severe persistent asthma, the kind that can turn deadly fast if I don't have a rescue inhaler within reach at all times. After that, everything changed. Mom and Dad turned into full-time bodyguards. They bought a little lockbox for the kitchen counter that held 4 inhalers at all times. Another one lived in my backpack, one in the car, one taped under my desk at school. They checked the pollen count every morning like it was the weather report. Mom quit her weekend shifts at the hospital so she could drive me to appointments with Dr. Patel, my pulmonologist. Dad installed air purifiers in every room. I became the center of their universe because if they didn't keep me breathing, nothing else mattered. Logan was 5 when all this started. At first, he just watched. Big brown eyes following me everywhere while Mom counted puffs, or Dad rushed home early to pick me up from school on high ozone days. Then the little things began. One morning, my backpack inhaler was gone. We tore the house apart and finally found it buried under the couch cushion's cap off medicine wasted. Logan shrugged and said he was playing hide and seek with my toy. Mom laughed it off. He was only 5. By the time he was 7, it wasn't funny anymore. Winter nights in San Antonio can drop into the 30s, cold enough to trigger me hard. I'd wake up wheezing because every window in the hallway was cracked open. Logan would be standing there in his pajamas, grinning like it was the best prank ever. "It's stuffy in here," he'd say. Mom would scold him gently and close the windows, but the damage was done. I'd be up half the night shaking and puffing on my nebulizer while he slept like an angel. When he hit 10, he got bolder. He figured out that ceiling fans on high blast the medicine right out of the air after I take a puff. I'd sit on the living room couch trying to catch my breath after a mild attack, and suddenly the fan would roar to life above my head. I'd look up, and there he was on the stairs, finger on the switch, watching to see how long it took me to start coughing again. Mom caught him once and grounded him for a week. A week. That was it. He learned exactly where I kept my spares. Under the bathroom sink top shelf of my closet, inside the zipper pocket of my gym bag. They started disappearing. I'd come home from school and have to tear my room apart while my chest tightened, praying I'd find one before it turned into a full-blown attack. Sometimes I did. Sometimes I had to call Dad at work and listen to him panic on the phone while he raced home. Logan always had the same innocent face. I didn't touch anything. Mom and Dad's answer never changed. "Logan's just little. He doesn't understand how serious this is. "You're the big sister, Kayla. You have to be patient." So I learned to hide my own inhalers in new places every week. I started triple checking locks on the medicine box. I stopped telling them when another one went missing because I knew what they'd say. I was 12, 13, 14, and every year the games got riskier, but I was the one who had to be the bigger person. By the time I was 15, I didn't trust my own brother in the same house as my medicine. I'd fake being asleep until I heard his bedroom door shut. Then I'd sneak downstairs to count the inhalers in the lockbox. Some nights one would be missing. Some nights the box would be unlocked. I never told Mom and Dad how scared I actually was, because I knew they'd choose him every single time. I got really good at protecting myself, but I never thought I'd need to protect myself from family. 2 years ago, everything flipped upside down, and it started the week Logan turned 15. We were having a small family party in the backyard. Mom had just brought out the cake when Logan suddenly grabbed his throat, eyes bulging, and let out the most terrifying wheeze I'd ever heard. He dropped to his knees on the patio bricks, clawing at his neck, face turning purple in seconds. Dad yelled for someone to grab an inhaler while Mom screamed his name. Guests froze. I stood there watching, knowing exactly what a real attack looked like, and something felt off. But nobody listened to me. An ambulance came. They rushed him to the ER. 2 hours later, he came home with a brand new diagnosis: severe asthma, same as mine. From that night on, Logan became the star patient. He learned how to make the wheeze sound exactly right, how to time the fake collapses when the most people were around. In 6 months, he had 5 emergency trips. Each time he came back with new restrictions from the doctors he'd apparently convinced. No strong smells in the house, no pets visiting. All the air purifiers now pointed toward his room. He demanded his own nebulizer and a locked case for his meds, just like mine used to be. Mom turned the spare bedroom into his personal recovery zone, complete with a hospital-grade air filter that cost Dad 2 paychecks. Mom quit her part-time nursing job the day Logan had his 3rd attack at school. She said she couldn't risk being away if he needed her. She started carrying his rescue inhaler in her purse the same way she once carried mine. She checked on him every hour at night, listened at his door for wheezing that never actually happened when no one was watching. Dad installed a second fridge in the garage just for Logan's meds and special food. He stopped asking me how my appointments went. When I had a real flare-up after marching band practice, he told me to tough it out because Logan had a doctor's note saying stress made his asthma worse. My own attacks started being treated like inconveniences. I watched the whole house rearrange itself around my little brother's performance, and I was the only one who saw the cracks. I caught him once in the bathroom mirror practicing the exact shade of blue he could turn his lips by holding his breath. Another time, I found an empty inhaler in his trash cap, still on, never used. When I asked why he needed 6 refills in 1 month, he just smiled and said, "Guess mine's worse than yours now, huh?" Only one person believed me when I said something was wrong. Skylar Nguyen has been my best friend since 7th grade. She'd seen me through real attacks, the kind where I ended up in the hospital gasping on a ventilator. She started staying over more often, watching Logan like a hawk. We'd sit in my room whispering while he fake coughed loud enough for Mom to come running. Skylar noticed how he only had symptoms when someone important was around, how he could run laps in PE the days the coach was watching, but collapsed the second Mom pulled up to pick him up. I tried talking to Mom. I showed her the unused inhalers, the perfect timing of every episode. She looked at me like I was the worst sister on earth. "Kayla, your brother is sick. Stop trying to make this about you." Dad backed her up. "You've had your turn being the center of attention. Let Logan have his." So I shut up. I started keeping my own meds hidden in Skylar's car just to be safe. I smiled when Logan got new restrictions that made my life harder. I swallowed the rage every time Mom forgot my refill because she was too busy running to the pharmacy for him. Logan had taken everything that used to be mine: my parents' worry, the special treatment, the constant protection, and he did it with nothing but perfect acting and a smile. And for almost 2 years, he got away with it. Thanksgiving last year was the first time the mask came off in front of everyone. We had 23 people crammed around folding tables that stretched from the dining room into the living room. Turkey tamales, 3 kinds of pie, the whole Texas chaos. Skylar was spending the night because her parents were out of town, and she was already on edge watching Logan like he was a bomb about to go off. Around 2 in the morning, I woke up to pee and noticed Skylar wasn't in the guest bed next to mine. 10 minutes later, she slipped back into the room phone clutched to her chest, eyes huge. "You need to see this," she whispered and hit play. The garage light was on. Logan sat on an old lawn chair, feet up on a cooler, hitting a neon green vape like it was the most normal thing in the world. Thick clouds, no coughing, no wheezing, just laughing at something on his phone. 27 seconds of pure proof. Skylar had recorded the whole thing from the side door. I stared at the screen until my hands shook. "Tomorrow," I said. "We end this tomorrow." Morning came. The house smelled like coffee and cinnamon. Everyone was passing plates, arguing over football kids running wild. Logan waited until the tables were full, until every aunt and cousin had a plate in their hands. Then he stood up, clutched his chest, and gave the performance of his life. He gasped, staggered sideways, knocked over a chair. His face went red, then purple. He dropped to one knee, making that awful strangled sound he'd perfected. Mom screamed and lunged for his rescue inhaler. Half the table jumped up. Someone yelled to call 911. Skylar stood up calmly, walked to the living room TV, and airplayed her phone. The room went dead silent except for the hiss of Logan's vape filling the 65-inch screen. You could see the cherry-flavored cloud drifting around his head while he scrolled TikTok. 27 seconds felt like 27 years. Logan froze mid-act, mouth open, hand still fake grabbing his throat. Our neighbor, Mr. Gerald Hammond, everyone calls him Jerry, happened to be over that morning dropping off a pie his wife made. Jerry's a retired San Antonio firefighter, still carries a pulse oximeter on his keychain out of habit. Before anyone could speak, he was already kneeling next to Logan, slipping the clip onto his finger. 99%. Jerry looked up, voice flat. "Kid's oxygen is perfect. Healthier than mine." You could hear a fork drop. Dad's face turned the color of the cranberry sauce. He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. For the first time in my life, I heard him raise his voice at Logan. "Living room. Now." The rest of us followed like we were in a funeral march. Mom was crying before Dad even started talking. He made Logan play the video again on the big screen, made him sit there and watch his own lie in 4K while 23 relatives stared. Then Dad laid it out. "You have 30 days to pack your stuff and find somewhere else to live. You're done mooching off this family's fear. You're done pretending you're sick. And you're sure as hell done putting your sister second." Logan tried the tears first. When that didn't work, he tried yelling that we were all jealous of him. When nobody bought it, he went ice cold. He looked straight at me, then at Mom, then at Dad, and said, the only sentence I'll never forget. "You're all gonna remember this Thanksgiving every single day for the rest of your lives." He grabbed his keys, walked out the front door, and slammed it so hard the wreath fell off. We didn't see him for weeks after that. Black Friday, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up choking on nothing. My eyes snapped open in the dark. The familiar iron grip was already clamped around my chest, squeezing tighter with every heartbeat. I slapped my hand to the nightstand. Empty. The little orange inhaler that's supposed to be there every single night was gone. I ripped the drawer out, dumped its contents on the bed. Nothing. My lungs were starting to scream. I swung my legs over the side, bare feet hitting cold hardwood, and staggered down the hallway, clutching the wall for balance. I took the stairs 2 at a time, each step jarring my ribs. The kitchen light was already on. The lockbox bolted to the counter gaped open like a mouth lid hanging by one hinge. Empty. I yanked the fridge door so hard the bottles rattled. The backup cold storage box gone. I tore through the pantry shelves, the junk drawer, the key safe in Mom's office. Every single hiding place I had spent the last year perfecting had been raided clean. That was when the wheezing started for real. High, sharp, unstoppable. I spun around, chest heaving, and there he was. Logan stood in the doorway between the kitchen and the garage, hoodie up, hands behind his back. A clear plastic HEB bag dangled from his fingers, heavy with weight. Through the plastic, I could see the unmistakable silver bottoms of 6 rescue inhalers lined up like bullets. He had come back in the middle of the night, picked every lock in the house, and taken the only things that keep me on this side of the ground. He lifted the bag slowly and gave it a lazy shake so the canisters clinked together. Morning, Kayla. Sleep well. My knees buckled. I caught the edge of the island to stay upright. The first real contraction hit. My airways slammed halfway shut. I could actually hear the whistle with every breath. Logan. It came out a croak. Give them back. He stepped fully into the light, pulled the drawstring tight, and looped the bag over his wrist like a trophy. Give them back. He laughed once, short and bitter. After everything, 17 years of you being the only one who mattered because you couldn't breathe right. 17 years of me being invisible. Now you get to feel it for real. Another wheeze tore out of me. My vision tunneled. I slid down the cabinet until I was sitting on the tile leg splayed, trying to suck in air that wouldn't come. He walked forward, slowly, boots echoing. You want to know how easy it was? Spare key under the fake rock. Same code on the safe since you were 12. You got lazy, Kayla. Thought I was gone for good. He stopped 2 feet away and crouched, so we were eye level. I took every single one. Bedroom lockbox, fridge, bathroom cabinet, even the one you hid in Skylar's glove compartment last month. 6 inhalers. That's all that stood between you and this moment. My lips were tingling hard now, going numb. I could feel the blue creeping in. Please, I rasped. It was barely a whisper. Logan tilted his head, studying me like I was a science project. Please. That's it. No apology, no. I'm sorry I stole our parents' entire lives. He stood up again, swung the bag once like a pendulum. I could walk out the door right now and let nature take its course. Or... He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small claw hammer he'd already shown me he knew exactly where Dad kept. I could make sure no one ever finds a single dose. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought it would crack them. Another spasm hit. I doubled over, forehead hitting the tile, wheezing so loud it filled the whole kitchen. Logan stepped over me, set the bag on the island, and lined the 6 silver canisters up in a perfect row under the pendant lights. Clock's ticking, big sister, he said quietly. How long before you pass out? 8 minutes, 10. Let's find out. He raised the hammer. Your move? He didn't wait for me to answer. Logan turned his back to me for a second, reached into the drawer under the coffee maker, and pulled out the small red claw hammer Dad always used for hanging family pictures. He laid the 6 rescue inhalers in a perfect straight line across the cold granite, spacing them exactly 2 inches apart, like he had rehearsed it 1,000 times in his head. Then he looked down at me, still on my knees, wheezing so hard my whole body shook with every useless pull of air. 6 inhalers, he said softly. 6 chances you had. Let's see how many you really deserve. He raised the hammer. The first swing came down fast and clean. Crack. The plastic casing of the first inhaler exploded into white shards. A thick cloud of albuterol burst out, filling the kitchen with that sharp medicinal smell I knew better than my own perfume. That one was for every single time you got a second birthday cake because the first one might have nuts. Second swing. Crack. Another canister ruptured, white mist shooting sideways and coating the stainless steel fridge in a fine layer. That was for every vacation we never took because the cabin wasn't asthma-friendly enough for Princess Kayla. My arms gave out. I collapsed forward, palms slapping the tile, trying to crawl anywhere that had air. The wheezing was constant now, a terrifying whistle that echoed off the Spanish tile backsplash. Logan walked around me in a slow circle, hammer dangling at his side. Third swing. Crack. Medicine sprayed across the floor like fake snow. For every school play Mom missed because you had a flare-up the night before. He stopped in front of the island, pulled his phone from his pocket, and propped it against the fruit bowl so the camera pointed straight at me. The red light blinked on. Time for your confession, big sister. He held the fourth inhaler up to the lens. Tell the camera you taught me how to fake asthma so I'd finally get the attention I deserved. Say it clearly, and maybe I stop at 3. I tried to shake my head. My lips were purple now. I could feel it. My tongue felt 3 sizes too big. He waited 5 full seconds, then shrugged. Fourth swing. Crack. The hammer left a chip in the granite. White mist drifted down like poison fog. For every Christmas morning I spent in the hospital parking lot while you got presents delivered to your room. I was flat on the floor now, cheek pressed to the cool tile, fingernails scraping uselessly as I tried to drag myself toward the back door. My vision pulsed black with every heartbeat. Logan stepped over my body, blocking the exit, and picked up the 5th inhaler. This one's for the 2 years I had to pretend I was dying just to feel like I existed in this house. He held it inches from my face, shaking it so I could hear the liquid sloshing inside the last working dose in the entire house. Say the words, Kayla. I taught Logan how to fake being sick so he would get love. Say it, and I let you have this one. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out except a wet, broken rattle. Tears streamed sideways into my hair. He sighed, almost disappointed. 5th swing, crack. The canister burst right above my head. Cold medicine rained down on my face, into my eyes, my open mouth, but none of it reached my lungs. Only one left. Logan crouched beside me, phone still recording, and brushed a strand of hair off my forehead like he used to when we were little and I had nightmares. You know what the last one's for? He whispered. It's for every single day I wished it was me who couldn't breathe, just so someone would care. He stood up slowly, raised the hammer over the final silver canister, and looked straight into the camera. Any last words, Kayla? My body convulsed with one final desperate wheeze. The room was almost completely black now. I could feel my heart stuttering, skipping beats, giving up. He smiled, the coldest, emptiest smile I have ever seen on another human being. Time's up. The hammer was already falling when the back door exploded off its hinges. Mr. Jerry Hammond, 68 years old, 240 pounds of retired San Antonio firefighter muscle, came through the opening like a battering ram. The garden hose was still clutched in his left hand, spraying water across the tile as he charged. He had been outside watering his roses at 6:30 in the morning when the sound hit him, one long, desperate, inhuman wheeze that carried through the open kitchen window, followed by the weak, frantic banging of a palm against glass. He dropped the hose, vaulted the low fence between our yards, and hit the locked back door with one perfectly placed kick. Wood splintered. The deadbolt ripped clean out of the frame. Jerry took the scene in one heartbeat. Me collapsed on the floor, skin the color of ash. Lips purple, eyes rolled back. Logan standing over me with the hammer raised for the final blow. 6 destroyed inhalers leaking white clouds across the granite like chemical snow. Drop the hammer, now. The command cracked like a gunshot. 30 years of running into burning buildings still lived in that voice. The hammer clattered to the floor. Jerry was on his knees beside me in less than 2 seconds. Huge hands tilted my head back, cleared my airway, sealed over my mouth. He gave 2 strong rescue breaths, chest rising under his palms, then checked for pulse with 2 fingers against my neck. Weak and thready. Come on, Kayla, fight for me. He started full CPR rhythm, 2 breaths, 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 30 compressions. His knees cracked against the hard tile, but he never slowed. Between cycles, he yanked his phone, thumbed 911 on speaker, and barked the address and situation so clearly the dispatcher had everything in 10 seconds. 17-year-old female, intentional deprivation of rescue medication, severe asthma, Cyanotic, unresponsive. Need engine medic and law enforcement code 3 to 1427 Cactus Wren Lane. Suspect still on scene. Sirens were already screaming closer. San Antonio Fire Station 51 is only 6 minutes away on a bad day. This wasn't a bad day. The first SAPD unit burst through the ruined door 4.5 minutes later, weapons drawn. 2 firefighters from Engine 51 followed with the medic kit and stretcher. Jerry never stopped compressions until the paramedic tapped his shoulder and took over airway. They slapped a non-rebreather mask on my face, cranked the oxygen to 15 liters, started a continuous nebulizer, and pushed IV epinephrine while another medic jammed a line into my arm. Across the kitchen, the officers had Logan face down on the tile, one knee in his back, cuffs ratcheting tight around his wrists. The last unbroken inhaler rolled out of his hand and spun to a stop against my bare foot. "You have the right to remain silent." Logan didn't say a word, just stared at the floor while they hauled him up. Jerry stayed right by my side, holding my hand the entire time they worked on me. He kept talking low and steady. "You're safe now, kid. Breathe with the mask. I've got you. You're not going anywhere." They lifted me onto the stretcher, strapped me down, wheeled me out past the ruined door and the abandoned garden hose still spraying across the driveway. The morning sun was just coming up bright and hot as they loaded me into the ambulance. Jerry climbed in with the old crew, his old station, and held the oxygen mask in place the whole ride. Lights and sirens the entire 6 miles to University Hospital. I coded once in the rig. They shocked me back. 48 hours later, I woke up in the ICU with a breathing tube down my throat and machines doing the work my lungs couldn't. Mom was curled in the corner chair asleep. Dad stood at the window, shoulders shaking. When they finally pulled the tube the next morning, the doctor's exact words were, 2 more minutes without intervention and we would have lost her. Logan never saw daylight that week. They kept him in juvenile detention until the prosecutor decided to charge him as an adult. Jerry sat with my parents every day I was sedated. He brought Mom coffee, told Dad it wasn't their fault, and promised me when I could finally hear again that he wasn't going anywhere until I walked out of that hospital on my own 2 feet. He kept that promise. Today was the preliminary hearing at the Bexar County Courthouse. I walked in on my own 2 feet, still carrying the faint bruises from the chest compressions, still tasting albuterol every time I swallowed. Mom held one arm, Dad the other. Skylar and Mr. Jerry sat directly behind us in the gallery. Logan was already at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit 2 sizes too big, ankles shackled, staring at the floor. The prosecutor laid it out cold: 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon under Texas Penal Code 22.02. The deadly weapon wasn't the hammer, it was the deliberate removal and destruction of life-saving medication from a person known to be dependent on it. In Texas, that's the same as pointing a loaded gun. They played the body cam footage in open court. 65 inches of Logan lining up my inhalers, swinging the hammer, telling the camera I taught him to fake asthma, while I turned blue on the kitchen floor. The judge never flinched, but half the gallery gasped out loud. Logan's public defender tried the troubled teen angle, rough childhood feelings of neglect, cry for help. The prosecutor countered with the 911 call, the ruined inhalers, the fact that he recorded the entire thing for proof. The judge took less than 10 minutes. 5 years probation, felony conviction, mandatory anger management, 500 hours community service, and a permanent no-contact criminal protective order. Any violation and you serve the full 5 in TDCJ. Clear. Logan nodded. He finally looked up when they called me to the podium for victim impact. I stepped forward, hands shaking, and spoke the only words I had prepared. "You stopped being my brother the moment you decided my last breath was payback. From this day forward, you do not have a sister, and I do not have a brother. That's forever." I didn't wait for his reaction. I turned and walked back to my family. That same afternoon, Dad hired a locksmith. Every door, every window, every gate got new deadbolts. Mom deleted Logan's number, blocked him on every platform, erased him from every family photo cloud. We took the framed pictures off the walls and put them face down in a box in the attic. By sunset, there was no trace he had ever lived in that house. 2 weeks later, the protective order arrived in the mail. Logan Carter is legally barred from coming within 500 yards of me, my parents Skylar or Mr. Jerry, for the rest of his life. Violation is a new felony. His probation officer has the address of the house he can never approach again. I still keep 7 inhalers now instead of 6. 1 in every room, 1 in the car, 1 on me at all times. I still wake up some nights reaching for the nightstand, heart racing before I remember I'm safe. Logan lives somewhere across town with a cousin who took him in. I don't know the address, and I never want to. Jealousy left unchecked can turn the person who once shared your blood into the biggest threat you will ever face. If someone in your life is hiding your medicine, destroying your things, or hurting you to feel important, please tell someone before it's too late. You deserve to breathe. You deserve to live. That's the end of my story with Logan Carter. He is no longer my brother, and I am finally truly free.